It's Ed. Welcome to another edition of Ed Talks. So this one's come up because in the last couple of weeks, again, this is how most Ed Talks come up. Something just recently happened and it reminds me, or it's kind of a theme, and I want to address it. It really came up about how do you really advance in your career. So I'm talking with other people who are maybe in my peer group, age group, and they're sort of reflecting back and they never really advanced to where they had wanted to go. And they've had great careers and all that kind of stuff. It's all good. But they are reflective and thinking, what could I have done different? Or they're a little bit younger and they're not moving where they want to go. And so they're asking, like, how did you do it? And the answer is really going to be some of the things that you may be resistant to do because you think it's perhaps disingenuous or perhaps too much about ego, or what I believe is fear of failure and fear of success. And then maybe the last reason is comfort. Like, who wants to be uncomfortable? So it's probably a mix of all of those things, for most of us, but there's probably a dominant theme. And I think one of the dominant themes, and I've talked about before, is the risk part. You have to put yourself out there if you want to get next level. Let's just say, call it next level. If you want to get next level, you have to put it out there. And frankly, most of us don't want to do it because we're pretty comfortable. We got a decent job. I've talked about this before where people actually pulled me aside in organizations and said, Ed, tone it down. I was like you. I came from XYZ. I came here to change the world. And I realized, oh man, there's too much downward pressure to change the world here. And it's kind of a cool place. I get paid pretty well. So I'm just going to settle it back and just retire here. I mean, literally people have said that to me, but I'm not wired that way. And you may not be either. So don't get comfortable. Comfort is probably, again, one of the biggest reasons why we don't get next level. And frankly, why our healthcare industry is so far behind with tech. So that's definitely a big one. I think fear of failure. Wow. What if I put myself out there and it doesn't work? Will I get fired? What will people think of me? And conversely, what if it does work? Dang, then what are the expectations, right? You do something great and they're like, Ed, what's next? You've got to keep that level of performance. It goes back to that whole comfort thing. So, if you're going to let fear paralyze you, if you're going to let the gods of comfort hold you back and keep you from pushing the envelope, then you're probably not going to get that next level. And so if you want evidence, because I know there's a few of you who are probably saying, oh, this Marx guy, he's, full of whatever. Why haven't we been the leaders in tech when it comes to healthcare? Very few people would argue that we're 5-10 years behind. That very few people would argue that we're not 5-10 years behind. I think we are closing the gap slowly, but we've been pretty far behind. There's some people who will be adamantly like, no. But there's usually a reason why they might feel that way, politically or financially. But I think we have a long ways to go. Think about this as my point of evidence. What do we highlight the most when it comes to accomplishments? Think about this. Now I'm going to get real here and probably offend some of my buddies. We moved to the cloud. Think about that. This is 2025. And our big thing that we speak about at conferences is we moved to the cloud. We moved our EHR to the cloud. By golly, that's the big thing. We've gotten good about showing our most effective leaders as being the ones who might do a little bit of, wow, I implemented AI pilot and I managed the implementation of the EHR very successfully. Think about it. If you go back and look at awards, who's winning the awards? What have they done? And again, this is not putting anything negative on those people. I'm talking about the industry as a whole, and I just wanted to give you a proof of evidence. We are not pushing the envelope very much in healthcare. So going back to the beginning, and that is, how do you get to next level? Well, you get to next level by being disruptive. It's risky on both the downside and the upside parts. It's uncomfortable, but it's what it takes if we really want to transform healthcare and really save more people's lives with tech enablement and really do and fulfill the promise of tech inside of healthcare. Is we've got to have those people. Where are those people? Those are the people that typically, again, this is far from perfect. There's a lot of other things that go into play. I get it. But if you want to get next level, you got to do that. So I and my peers who were sort of going next level if you look back, we're doing some pretty disruptive things. So I can give you all sorts of examples, but I'm not sure that that's going to be the most effective use. And you're going to want to listen to all these examples, but I can give them to you. And I can tell you they were disruptive. You know, we think working at home was a big deal during COVID, and it was important, clearly. But we made heroes, right? That's where I'm going. We made heroes of people who moved to the cloud in 2025, who had people work at home during COVID. See what I'm saying? Who are doing pilots on AI. And so we just need this bold leadership. So we want to get next level. Again, going back to the beginning, got to catch myself here because I don't want to go off track. You're listening, you're watching, and you're saying to yourself, okay, how do I get next level? I don't want to be sort of stuck. I don't want to play out my career 10, 15, 20 years, same place and doing the same thing and not really doing much in terms of saving people's lives and whatever it is that drives you. It's like do bold things. Look at other industries and seeing how they're leveraging tech. Bring it, be the first, bring it back. You'll find some buddies. I always had buddies that were always on the phone, talking, chatting, figuring out, okay, what else can we do? What else can we do? What can we learn from? Go get out of the United States. Find out what they're doing in certain parts of Europe. Find out what they're doing by necessity, at 5, 6,000 meters in the Andes. That's where you're going to find sort of the disruption, some of the innovations and things you can bring back and do and really get next level. Better benefit is saving more people's lives. But again, going back to the premise of this particular ed talk, it's like, man, you will get next level. So push, 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 expect to be fired once at least. Push, 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 and always have the mission vision of the organization up front. Always bring other people with you. You can't do this by yourself. And you'll see yourself getting next level. And you won't be, at end of a career looking back saying, gosh, when I was younger, I had all these dreams, but now today they didn't happen. Just go do it.